Humans, give me something to believe in. Earth below me, sky above me, fire within me. Brought to you by UPRN Network. I'm Trish Moe, and this is The Missing Piece. Good evening. It is Monday, June 20th, I think. We are broadcasting live out of New Orleans 105.3 FM and United Public Radio Network. I'm Trish, your host of The Missing Piece. And it is tomorrow is Litha. It's going to be the longest day, summer solstice. That's exciting for, the witches like myself. And tonight I'm excited to welcome my guest. I'm doing something a little bit different tonight. The people in the weird paranormal world and UFOs, and a lot of us have a lot of dark humor and find probably really offensive things hilarious. So tonight I wanted to do something different, and I want to welcome my guest, Brad Gosse. Is that how you pronounce your name? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you nailed it.
Completely.
Congratulations.
He is author to over 90 now, correct? Adult dark humor books, and has over a million followers on TikTok, and I've seen quite a few of your your TikTok. What do they call TikTok? I don't TikTok, but I watch
You
those.
can call them TikToks. You can call them
TikToks?
videos. You can call them whatever. There's no wrong answer.
So welcome, Brad. Before I do want to ask you how you got into all of this, but to start with, do you want to read one of your books just so our audience kind of knows what your style is before
Sure.
I ask you about your life and your left kidney and everything?
I'll give you some choices.
Okay.
Okay, here are your options. Cinnamon, a horse forced into the sex trade. Sweatshop Kids, Make Everything You Own. Dead Babies 5, a series of short life stories. Conjoined Twins, So Many Unanswered Questions. Or Gluck Gluck 9000.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh, I guess I should mention for those of you listening, on your drive home for work or whatever you're doing, if you have, this probably isn't safe for like a work meeting or small children or something.
Don't bring me to your Zoom chats.
Yes, you might offend someone.
I don't think I have any curse words in these particular books that I've chosen, but
that's
there's no accounting for what's going to come out of my mouth. So.
Okay. So I think I want, since it's been such a big subject lately, and I'm a chimera, so I absorbed my twin at birth. I'm gonna go with the conjoined twins.
Conjoined twins. It's an excellent choice. If one commits a crime, do they both go to jail? What if one dates a male and the other dates a female? How many seats do they buy on a plane? Can they read the thoughts in one another's brain? With 8 limbs, are they an octopus by definition? At the movies, do they pay 2 admissions? If they share a butt, who decides when to poo? If one of them dies, does the other die too? If one gets pregnant, are they both the kid's mom? Will they ever find 2 dates for the prom? What if one gets into college and the other does not? What happens if just one wants to tie the knot? Do they need 1 passport or 2? If one wants to have sex, what does the other one do? Conjoined twins.
So
Did you really absorb your twin at birth?
I did. So all of these things in the book. I was thinking, and I know everybody out there's thought this too. Like, like when you see or think about conjoined twins, those things go through. Well, they go through my head. I mean, I'm really weird though, but, but maybe is that what happened? Is that how you come up with these?
Um, they just kind of come to me. It's like, I wish I had like a, a clear answer for how it just, I feel like one of those televangelists who says God speaks through him, where it's like, because I don't know where it comes from. It comes from somewhere. It comes from inside me somewhere, but I don't know if it's like, what was that? That was God speaking through your light in your.
so, so this I mean, there's no animal around the court. There's that was yeah, that was
Okay, so then God.
this
Now we know for sure God speaks through you, and tells me to write jokes about his mishaps or her mishaps. We don't know their
Are
mishaps.
you calling me a mishap, Brad? I
No,
mean, I might be,
you could
but
be. How
I
much
could
of the
be.
twin is
Probably
left?
am. I don't know.
How much did
I've
you absorb?
often
How did you find out where what parts were left? I
um
have questions.
well, I have multiple organs left over, I guess, and an extra DNA and such. So I'm not I mean, I'm a Gemini, so I'm not sure if that equates. Does that make 4 of me?
I don't know. I don't know how
Because Gemini
your
is the
birth sign
twins.
is affected by that.
Hmm. Yeah, so I don't
You
know,
have
but
extra. What organs do you have that are multiple?
I have 3 spleens.
What is a spleen?
It
I don't know what the hell does a spleen even do?
I think it filters something,
You have three of
maybe.
them, so
Yes, I have 3
you're
of
like
them.
a reverse osmosis human being. You have like
Oh,
extra.
interesting you say that. Yes, maybe.
So
Now I'm gonna think of that every time I go refill my water jugs, at
it's like
the
the good Coke at McDonald's. It's triple filtered water and it makes it tastier.
I don't go to McDonald's, but I
But
I
you know how the
mean,
Coke is
maybe
better, right? Or like even the water at Starbucks is triple filtered. It's much better. So you're triple filtered. That's how you need to call
triple
it. So
filtered.
don't say you have three
I'm a
spleens. That doesn't
I'm a
sound right. Just say I'm
triple threat.
triple filtered.
That's not true though. I mean, I have no filters, so most of the time.
Same.
Yeah, so what is your speaking of twins, have you heard about the entire, it's probably been around for a few years, the whole twin flame phenomenon, you
I know
know.
a little bit about it.
Have you written anything on twin flames? I know so many people make fun of that entire concept, which is interesting over the years.
It's not mainstream enough for me to write about.
Really?
Yeah, it would have to be more like, my ex is a narcissist. That's more mainstream than twin flame,
Oh, yes.
right? That's
It's
like
like
everybody says that.
everybody's story. Everybody's story.
So many narcissists out there. I don't know where they're all going and coming from, but there's a lot of love bombing going on. That's what I hear.
Yes, there is. So, getting back to how you began. Now, from the time you were young, were you a comedian then? Were you like the class clown? Were you
Yep,
always
I was. Yeah. I spent a lot of time suspended and in detention and in the office, in the principal's office. Um, and I, I have this joke, and it's a joke, but it's also true. When I was a kid, my friend's parents would say he's a bad influence. You're not allowed to hang around with him anymore. And now that I'm a grown man, my friends' wives say the same thing. So I'm just a bad influence kind of a person. It's just how my mind works, and you know, uh, I like to have more
Why
fun
do
than
they
the
consider
average.
you a bad influence though? You make people laugh. That's a good thing.
Yeah, but I'm also, you know, I I like to have fun. I like to do fun things that some people don't also enjoy. It's I mean, a lot of recreational things are legal here in Canada, so we have a lot of fun. You know what I'm saying?
We have a lot. Actually, quite a few people on our network are from Canada, as well as our viewers. So you're in the right place. I moved from upstate New York, so very close to. I was about 30 miles from Canada,
Oh,
and
did you live in
it was.
Lackawanna? Where did you live?
Oh gosh, no, but I guess I did live there briefly years ago. But I hear that's a bad place,
Do you remember
and
the commercials? You're gonna wanna come to Lackawanna.
there's
I still don't wanna.
no, no.
Grand
That
Island,
I
Cheektowaga,
oh, I did live near Cheektowaga, yes.
Cheektowaga.
I wasn't familiar with Buffalo when I moved up there, and I'm pretty sure I lived in the bad area for first about month I was there, in the old first ward.
All of
So,
Buffalo is the bad area of
well,
Buffalo.
yeah, but there's like it's kind of like Topeka. Like there's bad areas where you know, you might get shot or like carjacked or something. And then there's the really bad areas where the cops don't even come. And I mean, really,
Right.
who knows what goes on there. So, um, but Canadians have, and I remember this specifically because I was never offended by them or whatever, but um,
Offended by Canadians?
yes, it's so that's the
Like the
first
most polite
thing
people on the
I
planet.
well, yeah, but it's the first thing I always heard was, "Oh, those Canadians are such assholes," and blah, blah, blah,
Right.
and, they're, insensitive and all this, and but I was like and it always came from, like, the Karen type people and stuff that were telling me this, and I'm like, "Well, maybe as Americans, we're just too sensitive," so, um but in this community, as far as like as I was saying, the paranormal and UFO and conspiracy theory and stuff, well, I guess you get one of two extremes actually. Um, there's people like me who probably laugh at funerals and stuff just because it's an awkward. Um, I just, I'm not laughing because the person died or anything. Like I see dead people all the time and I communicate with them. So it's not that. I'm just a happy medium. Literally. So um but but we joke about these things all the time because we deal with really, sometimes like cold cases and stuff. And how could we would be horribly miserable people if we didn't joke about those things. So
Dark humor is like clean water.
it is.
It's not for everybody.
And it's hard to find
Yeah, it's hard to
and
find.
appreciate. Yeah.
It's hard to find and appreciate.
So how many books total? I know it's over 90. Have you
98 today.
98?
As of today, I have 98 books. I'll have 90.
Wow.
I'll have 99 before the week's over. And
And you sell these on Amazon? You're self-published, correct?
yep, Amazon, Walmart.com, BarnesandNoble.com.
Wow. And so do you also do stand-up comedy?
Yes, I do. Yep.
How does your audience receive you in those instances, I guess, experiences?
Depends on the night. But a lot of the stand up I do is book reading, which the live audience is very receptive to. They like the book reading, but I also do other stuff. But it's a different thing, right? It's like there's so much there's so much larger audience online that it's hard to focus. I got to give up a whole night for 7 minutes or 4 minutes at a comedy club. I'm driving to Toronto. It's an hour away. I'm parking my car. I'm gonna have a bourbon at the bar. I'm gonna watch a couple other comics. I'm gonna do my set, hang around for a bit. By the time I'm home, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm wired, wide awake. So, and there's maybe 40 people, 50 people in that room. Whereas I can flip on my phone right now and go live on TikTok and have 50,000 people see me in a half an hour. And some of
Yes.
those people aren't my followers. They're new, I might pick up 1,000 or 2,000 new followers. I might sell, a couple dozen books on that live. So it's really hard to justify the live audience, but I love it. Like it's just there's no replacing it.
Oh, absolutely. Because that's the same reason I love to see, well, any type of performance live, as far as comedy or music, things like that, because you actually feel the crowd and the performer's energy,
Yeah.
from it and feed off that. So, but absolutely, as far as the online has given us such a broader way to network and have more people experience you. Like right now, we're up. I'm up to like 740,000 listeners live. So, and then obviously it goes to podcasts and such. So I would never be able to do that. You couldn't in most, especially during this time, um, in most, public event centers and stuff. So that's awesome. But do you, I guess a lot of what are the subjects that your books range from?
Most of them are sex and violence. I'm either talking about abuse, some type of sex based topic, whether it's thirst traps or sex offenders or STDs or um, you know uh, and then a lot of violent type topics like death, abuse, that kind of stuff. Um, that's 90% of it. And then the odd time I'll do a book, like I did a book called Slappy Will when the Will Smith slap happened because I knew I could get it out quickly. But those are news cycle books. They only last a few months and then they don't really sell after that. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, most of them are, and racism. That's the other one. I do a lot of books about racism. I have a book called Clip Clop, the Racist Horse Cop. I have a book called My Racist Gran, My Homophobic Dad, Race Wars. It's all over the place
Do you ever get threats from people for
every day,
anything?
every day. Yeah, I've been called everything. Being a middle-aged white guy who makes race jokes, you're gonna get some backlash, right? So,
I would
um,
assume.
you know, um, and to some people, talking about racism and having a racist character, like if you watch South Park and there's Cartman, he's like the racist, he's the Archie Bunker of cartoon characters. Some people consider the makers of those types of cartoons racist, but sometimes you need to have a racist character to illustrate something, whether it's
Okay.
a police profiling or something like that. And for some people, that's just not tolerable. So they're like, "You're a racist now. I've labeled you, or you're a misogynist, or you hate women, or you are ageist, or all while telling me that I'm an old man."
Yeah. I believe that everyone is some of those things or all of those things at some point in their life,
We're all
100%.
we're all those things. Of course we are.
Right.
Of course we are.
Just the difference is between some people say these things out loud and some people, you- I guess, act like they don't have those thoughts.
Right.
So,
Right.
um, do you have any political geared?
I have a couple, but I try to stay away from politics. There's
Lord,
the cat, amazing.
what is she doing?
Um, I try to avoid it for the most part. I find whenever I dip into it, I'm always not happy with the result. So
Nobody is.
yeah,
So,
yeah, that's just it.
so, so there is that one. What about, I know, which all of us that, and I don't get offended by it, that have, I was born in outside of Roswell, New Mexico, so I've been teased about UFOs and such my entire life. And if you talk about, any experience or whatever, some people get offended at what term you use or whatever. I'm like, well, I'm not offended by that. Do you have any UFO? Um,
No, I
or
don't. I actually don't. And it's not that I haven't thought about it. It's that I just haven't found the way to make it. Um, I haven't found the punchline. I haven't found the way to make it funny. There's a bunch of topics people are always like, "Hey, have you thought about this topic?"
I'm sure you've
UFOs
thought
or
of them all. It's just
abortion, and it's just like I'm trying to find the way to make that funny, and I don't know if I can. But I think if I were, it would be something along the lines of, that it would be some elaborate lie that dad told because he was out with whores. You know, like I got abducted by aliens.
I I've I'm based on my research, I think some of them in fact are.
Some of the aliens are whores.
Well, probably that too, but some of the stories are potentially lies told by dads that were out by horse.
I could
Yes.
I could totally see that.
Yeah.
I mean, sex addiction is a lie too, right? Like that was made up by men who enjoy the whores.
But what's a whore?
Someone who takes money for sex.
Oh. Because see, here's what happened when I lived in New York. It came out that that was the year that Pennsylvania, they did this whole um study on or it was like a survey on the highest paid people in the, you know, northeastern states.
Mhm.
And for the amount of work they did, it ended up being some prostitutes from Pennsylvania. I mean, these women were making millionaires,
Sure, yeah.
um and it was a very professional, they had this whole vetting process, and
Sure.
um you know they were anonymous as far as their clients and all this, but they made a lot of money and people were making fun of them. And I was like, okay, half the people I know have sex for free with strangers.
We're all whores. We're all whores at the end of the
And
day.
these women are out there, oh my gosh, you're not gonna I'm getting a call from Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. I know no one there. I don't even like how does that happen? I wish I could answer it on air. I'd be
It's
like
Canada Revenue Agency. They're
probably
looking
like
for
a
they're looking for their money from me.
how does that happen?
They've been trying to find me for a while. I stopped taking their calls last week.
Yeah, so they're gonna go through
They're
me.
stalking me on a
I
podcast.
know. I wish I could answer it online.
Sudbury.
Where is that?
It's the north. It's a mining town. It's where all the nickel mines are.
That's
So,
interesting.
yeah.
Huh.
It's it's not really interesting, but it's a thing. It's a
Well,
fact.
no, it's interesting that they I got that phone call just now because I don't know anyone from Canada. I mean, as far as like they would call me from, an unidentified number. So,
Right.
especially when I'm talking to somebody from Canada. So,
Are you
uh,
chalking that up to some type of
it
paranormal activity, strangeness?
no, a
No?
synchronicity, yes.
Okay.
Paranormal.
Synchronicity. What's that?
Synchronicity is, well, sort of like when you mentioned a sign from God and all of a sudden my light started flickering.
Got it. Right.
Most people consider certain things coincidence. I guess it's kind of like a coincidence or whatever.
Right.
Um, but synchronicities are just little things that happen randomly,
Like when you think of someone and then they call you.
right.
Got
Or
it.
you see their name or something. Yeah, kind of the same thing. I just happen to be talking to someone from Canada and then I get a phone call. So
Right.
from Canada.
Right.
Now, I also saw this is really impressive. You have little jingles, right? Like little songs
That's right. Yeah.
to many of your books. Do you create all of those yourself?
No, I hire that out to I use a website called Fiverr,
Oh.
and I hire out a jingle company, and they do like radio jingles, and so I just pay them to make book jingles.
Do you want to show us? Can you show us an example of that?
Sure. Let me pick one here
You
for
have
you.
like a professional studio thing going on. I love your backdrop there.
Yeah, I don't mess around. I'm in it to win it. You know what I'm saying?
I'm in like a different room every week, and I just have pictures behind me.
I get it. How about here's a good one. This one's called Why Daddy Hits Mommy.
Why daddy hits mommy? Kids got to understand alcoholism.
There it is.
Is that a horse?
No, that was a scream from
Oh
from a
god.
woman being slapped very hard by her drunk alcoholic husband.
Do you have that book you can read to us?
Sure, yeah.
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to you're gonna find it.
It's right here. Why Daddy Hits Mommy. When Dad comes home, he wants two things: a whiskey drink and spotless sinks. Even though your mommy works too, Dad's domestic labor expectations are askew. Once Daddy enjoys drinky three, it's time for you and Mom to flee. To Grandma's house you'd better go, or Mom will suffer several blows. To the face is where Daddy hits, because he drinks and cannot quits. Please remember Dad is sick, even when he uses a stick. Alcohol is Daddy's crutch, and that's why he hits Mom too much. Why Daddy hits Mommy.
Okay. Why do a lot of the women in your books have red hair? I'm just curious.
Um,
I'm a redhead, and I've been
this,
noticing a lot of books lately, not just yours, but they all these women have red hair, and I'm like, is that's a theme?
no, I've got blondes. I'm kind of all over the place, but that one character is in a lot of my books, so she does have red hair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like all the witches in books; they all have red hair.
Do they?
Yeah, most of them. Yeah,
I always thought they had black hair.
some of it depends on which part of the, I guess,
Depends on
which
which witch.
background, which. Yeah, but a lot of them, a lot of them have either red or black. I guess. Yeah. So they're setting us up for failure from the beginning.
I bet they thought a lot of red-haired people were witches back in the day.
We're still.
Exactly. Right.
So so what's one of your all-time favorite books?
Um, my my favorite book right now, I have a few. One of my favorite books is called Race Wars. And it's about different colored cars competing in the race of their lives. And another one's called Dead Babies. I have five volumes of Dead Babies. Um, that's one of my favorites because people keep asking for more of them, and they sell really well. And I have a Dead Babies coloring book that sells really well. Um, I recently did a campaign where a whole bunch of my followers could sign up to become dead. Like I would name Dead Babies after them, and so I have a whole series of new books coming out with the Dead Babies being named after some of my supporters.
That's so that's a really good point to make because I'm sure even, some people are out there thinking, "Ugh, this guy, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to," but that's really interesting that you get requests for, certain subjects and certain topics.
Yeah, people love darkness, right? And they love it when you kind of lean into it in a way that others don't. It kind of goes back to your thing about making jokes at a funeral. There are some people who deal with their trauma through humor, and there are some
Mhm.
people who deal with grieving through humor. And for them, you know, there are women who've had miscarriages who like me reading dead babies. There are women who are having, like, there are women who have baby showers who get my books as a baby shower gift. Some people
Right.
can handle it and some people can't. And there's just some people are soft and some people are harder, and the harder people need, a harder edged comedy. They need a weirder thing. So, and when I say Dead Babies, a series of short life stories, most people laugh, but the odd person is completely put off by it. I've definitely had people get really mad about it, and it's always their thing. It's always like, you can't talk about that because and that's always the thing. You can't talk about domestic abuse because my dad hit my mom. You can't talk about racism because I don't like it. You can't talk about dead babies because I had a miscarriage.
See,
You know,
well, I guess I'm on the other side where things, like I said, things like that, because I've seen a lot of death and had miscarriages stuff. Like I was trying to find this picture. I was gonna show you because um that reminded me on it kind of like the witches thing. People ask me if I eat babies, all the time because that was historically what witches were known for, to eat
you
babies
should
and
just
eat
say no.
eat
It's
kids.
2000. It's 2022. We eat stem cells now.
Yeah, I was like, I kind of had to
We eat fetuses now.
go more, go, but so what I was doing, this was back when I was celebrating Yule, and I cooked some Cornish game hens. And Yule historically, that goes back to a lot of things, but as far as when witches were eating babies, but the little Cornish game hens, and I took a picture and I posted something about like eating babies or something, and I think I think Facebook or wherever I posted it, blocked it or banned it or who whatever. And because they looked like naked, the little Cornish game hens, like when they're all
Yeah,
like
yeah.
curled up and on a pan, they look like little babies. And I thought as a witch that was hilarious, and not
That is
everybody
pretty
thought so.
funny. That is pretty funny.
I wish I could find the picture, but yes, not everybody like that. Even though, like I said, yes, I have had miscarriages and stuff. So I mean, I could like offended myself, but
Is
there's
it? You just said it though, right? I could get offended. And
mhm,
I really do believe that for a lot of people, that's a choice that you have to consciously make to get offended. When you say I could be offended, do you
absolutely.
know how many people will say, should I be offended by this? If you have to
Hmm.
ask the no, if it doesn't absolutely make you like want to burn my house down, then chances are you're not offended. And a lot of people choose to get offended, and it takes work. Like, being
It does.
offended requires a lot of energy,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
why I
you
don't
have
do
to.
it because I'm
Yeah,
not gonna give energy to that. Like,
yeah.
there's no point. You know
It's
what I
so
mean?
easy to move on, but to
Right.
stop your day and decide you're gonna rid the world of this sickness. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's a losing battle for you. And it's a choice, and it's a choice most people make. And I'm not saying that, I know there are cases, I know there are situations where people use, certain racial slurs and things like that that are definitely offensive, and I'm not saying that all things shouldn't be offensive. But I think most people, the people who argue about things on the internet, those people are choosing offense and th're choosing rage and they're addicted to outrage porn.
No, oh, absolutely. And that's another, it's kind of, I had this discussion with someone the other day because um being a redhead, a lot of people call me ginger, right? Well, ginger originally is a derogatory term towards redheads. and a lot of people don't know that this dates way back to when the Irish were slaves, and came over. And so what happened with the Irish were, um they were all shipped over the same, like a lot of times, many times, with the African slaves, and they crossbred the Irish and the African slaves to make like a hybrid. They thought it would be a stronger, they thought the Irish had better immune systems and such, and certain qualities, and that the Africans had better, more strength and these things. So ginger originally, aside from the actual definition of being a color, um, it was the same, you know, like the N word, but with the letters, um, I guess, mixed up there. So that's where it
Oh,
originated.
interesting.
And many people don't know that. They just go around, but I don't get offended because I'm not. I'm like, yeah, I am.
I didn't know
The
that.
color ginger
This
too.
is news to me.
Yeah. And that's why, especially when going back to, like Celtic and pagan roots, and especially in New Orleans with, even the voodoo traditions and stuff, there many of them are very, intertwined because of that relationship between the Irish and African slaves back in the, historically. So,
Sure.
um yeah, a lot of people don't know that. They just go around, well, you shouldn't be offended by ginger. I'm like, do you even know? And that's my thing, if you don't know the definition of something, or why as you said, why you're getting offended, then why are you putting energy into it?
Yeah.
Which, granted, most people aren't completely, including myself on a lot of things, educated on the true meaning of many things, and that probably stems, or like goes back to why they're offended to begin with. So
Right. And don't get me wrong, I love it. I like it when people get offended because I've learned that with the type of comedy that I do, the negative people watch longer than the people who like you, and the negative people comment more
almost
than the people who don't like you, and the negative people share your stuff with their friends
absolutely,
because they want them to share the outrage.
yeah.
So there's um there's money to be made off the negativity and off of the hate, and I'm here for it. I'm 100% here for it.
Well, I
Every
don't
negative
even.
comment brings a positive one too.
But see, I consider people that hate me like a fan, because if you
Yeah.
truly hate someone, you don't really give a shit what they're doing. You don't put any energy into that.
Right,
You
right.
could care less. If you truly hate something, you just it like
It's dead to you.
it's absolutely dead to you.
Yeah,
Um so I've always switched that around and thought that those were my greatest admirers.
sure.
The ones
If they care about you,
they're
you
putting
matter.
that right. Yeah, if they're putting that much energy into spreading the word about, my nonsense. So,
Yeah. Aw, you cared enough to comment.
yeah. Yeah, that's so many people are angry right now. I just see it.
So triggered. Come at me, bro. Come at me. I can handle it.
Do you think, now I've seen a lot of your TikToks talks tick see, I don't even know how to. I haven't been on TikTok very often, so, but I've seen a lot of them as far as your interaction with teenagers and such.
Yeah. I like to talk to teens on the internet.
Well, and I listen to no, well, that sounded
I like to talk to teens on the internet.
I I listen to a lot of those, and I think about my own, like my son's a teenager, and I think about the stories, he has when he comes home from school and he gets sent to the principal's office, and even the things these teachers call me, and I'm like, half the time when I get calls from these professionals and such, or the principal or whatever, um, for instance, not long ago. It was April Fool's Day, and a teacher or the principal or whatever called me and said he got caught shooting a friend with a water gun in class or something, and I don't know, maybe it looked like the kid, who knows, but I mean the kid was fine, but my son got sent to the office, and the authority figure said, "Is it okay if I just smash the gun in front of him?" And I'm like,
A squirt gun?
right. It's like, it was neon, like neon orange,
Right. Right.
and I'm like, "Is that gonna make you
He
feel
wasn't going to
better?"
create a lockdown drill with his squirt gun, is what you're
No,
saying.
no, and that wasn't even the point. It was the point to show as an authority figure that he was destroying something that was interrupting the class. It wasn't
Right.
even about it being a gun, It was, and I'm like, and I start laughing because I'm like, is that gonna make you feel better? I mean, I guess you can. You can't feel- and then, of course, then I'm not professional, so.
When I was a kid, my grandmother caught me with a lighter and she burned my hand with the lighter. That's kind of the
But how does
equivalent of
that? But
smashing the squirt gun.
right, and so what did that teach you?
Fire is hot. I already knew that before I picked up the lighter, you dummy. Couldn't believe she burned me with it. I was just like, what? I was like 8, you know what I mean? I knew exactly how
Right.
I knew what burning felt like. I didn't need a reminder. And I ended up being like a bit of a firebug when I was a little bit older. So, um, you know, grandma didn't help. She may have hurt.
You just learn not to let her catch you with a lighter,
Yeah, exactly.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's things that,
She
I
died in a mysterious fire a couple years later.
she did not. That's terrible.
Rest in peace, Gran.
Now, what about dead people? Have you done any?
I love dead people.
I do too.
Yeah.
I have more friends that are unalive than I do that are of the living sort. But um, do you have have you done any books on that?
Just dead babies. That's it.
Oh,
Not so much dead people. Just
do
dead
they
babies.
do they interact like ghosts?
No, they're just dead. And it's how they died. Um I have a book I have a lot of books where like it starts off with a dead parent, kind of like a Disney movie where it's like your mom's dead or your dad's dead on the first page of the book.
So that's interesting you say that because people don't realize, you
How
know,
dark Disney movies are?
dark. Not only that, nursery rhymes too.
Oh, nursery
I
rhymes are super dark.
So it was when I saw Bambi in kindergarten the first time I cried, right? And it was last year that I learned that Bambi was written due to the Holocaust. Like what? What? So there's things like that. A lot of people, and then my daughter one day was singing Ring Around the Rosies.
Right, which is a Black Plague nursery
Yeah.
rhyme. Yeah.
Yeah, and we just tell our kids to go out but you know what? Um Even I'm sure as far as like your little jingles and your books and stuff, especially since they're shorter than, reading an entire I have ADHD and stuff. I can't, I've got to have little
Same.
snippets of stuff to pay attention. But those things stay in your head. So if you're teaching like if there's a moral to it, or whatever, people remember those things. I remember jokes better than I do, or like Ring Around the Rosie stuff like that, better than I do reading something from a science book, you
There were
know?
some there were some pretty dark German children's books that came
Oh
out.
yeah.
Uh Struwelpeter or something was one of them, and it was like a kid and he there was a tailor and he had big scissors and he cut the kid's finger off every time he cut another finger of the kid off every time he did something, or
There
There were
was
some dark, dark children's books in Germany.
the one last year that was banned that I almost did a series on because it actually went with the theme of a mouse that I killed in my house. That was tragic, tragic story. But um, and that was a real life event. They that I could have made into some. Um, what was it? It was mouse. Is that the actual?
Oh yeah, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it was banned last year in most schools and libraries and everything. Um, and there was yeah, there's like Cinderella, all of them. They deal with either people being poisoned or abused, kept in a tower all their lives. These children they
What?
and
Finding Nemo, the mom dies in the first minute.
yeah. So I find it hypocritical when people are like, "Oh, oh, I wouldn't let my child." I'm like, but but you let them watch Disney movies. You let them watch Harry Potter. You let it, when super religious people are like, tell me I'm a bad influence as a witch or whatever, and they don't want their children around that, but their kids wearing Harry Potter stuff, and I'm like, wait, you think the world of wizardry is any different than
You think the
y-
Bible isn't dark?
right? Oh, are you kidding me? It's one of the
It's one of the
most.
darkest books there
It
is.
is one of the and 100%, they and that's been discussed a lot lately, how most violence in the world since the beginning of time has been caused by religion.
Sure, yeah.
So so I just find it hypocritical that adults um are very sensitive nowadays to these things. All right, do you have let's get another book.
Yeah.
It's another favorite that you want to share with us.
We can do. Let's see. Let's do this one here. It's called "Help Me, Step Bro."
she's, she's got red hair. It's the same character, isn't it?
It is the same character.
Help me, step bro, step bro. Creative prompts for quality movies. Quality movies.
See how many of these scenarios you recognize. Talk to the boss. You might be getting fired. Unpaid parking tickets. Your attention is required. Doctor says bend over and cough. Hot stepmom wants to help you get off. This couch for money is where you must goes. Sometimes a fireman needs to empty his hose. In bed with one lover, the other hides away. Ordered a pizza, can't afford to pay. Picked up a hitchhiker, she can't thank you enough. You wound up in prison, and it's gonna get rough. Hot stepsister and friend stole your PS4. You got caught shoplifting at your favorite store. You went for a massage that came with a feel. You met with a realtor, but only closed one deal. The plumber is here. Your pipes need to be cleaned. Stepsister is stuck in the washing machine. Help me, step bro.
Oh my goodness. I feel like that should be um like one of those low budget 70s, 80s. Did you ever watch Up All Night with Gilbert Godfrey?
Yep.
Yep. I don't even remember what channel was that. That was
I don't know.
I don't know either. But for a lot of those, I'm telling you, your books would have been made into movies back then.
Well, I'm still holding out for a Netflix special, so we'll see.
It could be. Actually, if they just made a movie about your character, that would be fascinating.
My life story is very fascinating.
Tell us about it.
It's multifaceted.
What is the craziest thing that's ever happened in your life? Could be dark, could be
The
Light?
craziest thing.
Is that?
Um, I don't know. I've been to the Playboy Mansion 3 times. That was kind of fun.
Oh, wow.
I
Do they just let people go there?
no, no.
Oh,
You have to be somebody. So take
huh.
that. Take that, grade 9.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. My whole life is crazy. It's like, what I'm doing right now is the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. I've only been doing this for 3 years. I'm a full-time comedian. I get paid to make people laugh. That's probably the craziest thing that's ever happened to me.
What was I guess where did you see yourself when you were younger? What was your dream?
I thought I'd be a rock star.
You could still there's still time.
No, no, I'm not. I'm tone deaf. I'm not good with music. I tried that. I was in a band for a while. I tried. It wasn't for me.
What kind of
But
band?
like thrash metal band when
Oh.
I was a kid. You know, with- this kind of stuff. Um, and but I always liked attention. I always liked performing. I always liked having the stage, being
You're a
the
narcissist, aren't you?
100%, 100%.
Damn, you're s-
I you know what? It's funny. I would be if it wasn't for the fact that I'm constantly putting myself in other people's shoes. I have more empathy than the average person, but then I have one other than empathy, which is like the biggest thing. If you took that away, I'd be a narcissist. Absolutely.
I think everybody would be a narcissist without
Without
empathy.
the empathy, I don't
Yeah.
know, but I feel like I'm like if I took the narcissist test, all the empathy questions I would fail, but every other question I would pass. Like, one of the questions, like if you have you ever taken a narcissist personality test? It's an interesting test,
No,
and
I
a
can't.
lot of the
I didn't even know
questions,
there's a thing.
it's the internet. There's a test for everything.
That's true.
You can find out if you're autistic. You can find out. You get 20 minutes. You can find out all your things.
Huh.
But
I
I
don't
did it.
think I want to know all my things.
I love knowing my things. But you take the narcissist test and it asks you questions, and a lot of the like I have a high, I say this a lot. But somebody asked me once on an interview, and they said, "Do you ever suffer from imposter syndrome?" And I have the opposite of imposter syndrome. I have like a delusional confidence where I'm like, why am I not where I should be now? Like, why don't I have 1 million followers? Why don't I have 30 million followers? Why don't I have a Netflix special? Why don't I? That's how my mind works. I'm the opposite of imposter syndrome. I'm like, why haven't they noticed me yet? Syndrome. And so
But when it comes down to it, are you like? Because I used to think that about myself, but then I'm like, wait a minute, am I like? Once these things happen, then I'm like self-sabotaging. See, and then it
I don't
eventually it
self
turns
sabotage.
into that you know of. I mean, you might.
No, I don't self sabotage. I know that for a fact. Um, but so I have an inflated sense of self importance, right? And if you look at the narcissist test, 30% of the questions are about empathy, 80% of the questions are about your inflated sense of self importance. So those questions I'm getting right. I'm nailing that part of the test. Do you feel like you're the most important person in the room? Check. Yes. All the time, every room.
So what's the difference between that and confidence?
Well, that's the fine line. That's the weird part, right? That's where the psychiatrists have to come in and figure it out. But I mean, if you ask the questions on the quiz, the narcissist quiz, you're
Hmm.
going to be like, you're going to think you're a narcissist because you're like, yeah, I'm answering yes to a lot of these questions. But then, your empathy saves you. But without the empathy, it's like, my sense of self-importance is like, I'm not afraid to admit it. It's ridiculously high, and it, part of it comes from the privilege stack that I'm lucky enough to have. And part of it comes from, being told I was special growing up.
Special as in like were they being sarcastic or did they really mean it?
No, they meant it,
Oh, yes.
no, like, I
Well
mean,
then that
like
I think 100%. Um, well, we've learned that everything stems from obviously your upbringing and childhood traumas and
right.
things that
We blame
people
our
go
parents
through.
for everything.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Um, which in most cases they are to blame.
sure.
But it does make a huge difference, if as a parent, you invest in your kids, and regardless of what it is, that
Yeah,
like as I was saying, like with my son, he tells me jokes all the time that are horribly inappropriate, but I can't shield him from other teenagers or the internet or anything. Did you see,
I saw it.
see that?
Yeah, yeah. God says
What
you
is
can
that?
shield him. God says you
I
can.
guess I can.
The lights are flickering again.
So, so I can't shield him from those things. But so instead, I actually encourage him to write jokes and
Yeah,
to to tell other people and to make people laugh, and I listen to them and I laugh with him, and um I think back, if I had done that, I might have gotten slapped when I was younger.
possibly. Yeah,
I mean, it's a different time. Like, my parents grew up in the 50s, so very more old fashioned than I am, but so it does, so I wouldn't have grown up to be a comedian, obviously,
right.
having that upbringing. But I do think it's important, as far as um and it's enabled um him to pretty much also be empathetic and fit in with many different groups of friends, as far as, I don't like discouraging. I'm sure it's the same with you. You seem to get along, from what I've watched on the internet, with so many different types of people, that initially probably absolutely hated you to begin with.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So trying to figure out where a lot of these things stem. What's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you?
Hmm. That's a good question too. I don't know. I've never really been in like a life-threatening situation other than maybe a car accident once in my life. And um I I don't really have anything scary that I can
Really?
think of. Yeah. I mean,
That's
I've been
amazing.
I've been homeless. That was scary.
Really? How
I've
old were you when you were homeless?
17. I've been, you know, very close to bankrupt. That was scary. But not like life and death scary. Um, okay, here's one. When I was a kid, I was walking on some ice on a lake, and I was pretty far out, and the ice started to crack, and I remember, you know, turning around to go back and seeing how far out I had gone, and I could hear it cracking in the distance, and where I was, and freaking out. Um, and running back as fast as I could, but not lifting my feet. I was slide running, because I didn't want to like, create like a, any kind of shock on the ice. And, I remember thinking, you know, like I could die here. So that's probably this. If I think about it, that's probably the scariest thing.
How old were you?
11, 12.
Oh, wow. What the hell were you doing on ice?
It's Canada.
Oh, that's true. They
That's
they
what we
do
do. We play with the ice.
hockey and
Yeah.
such there, yes.
Yeah. It wasn't
Forgot about that.
hockey. It was just a bunch of kids having fun, and I went out too far on the ice and heard some
That is
cracks.
that is scary. My sister fell off a dock. She slid off a dock, under some ice one time, and my aunt caught her, which is crazy because, I mean, a lot of people die that way and get stuck under the ice.
Yeah.
Um, okay, what is the best thing that's ever happened to you?
My life as it is right now is the best thing that's ever happened to me. So um, I'm happily in love. I'm in a great place mentally. I'm in a great place with my career. Becoming a comedian was the best thing I ever did. So, um, happiest I've ever been is today, this moment. Um, yeah, and more so tomorrow. I know it's a cheesy answer, but it's the truth. It's like,
No, that's so
if
there's
you had
very
asked
few
me that years
people.
ago, I would have found a time and place in my life where I was the happiest, but now it's like today.
That's great because that means you're present,
Yeah.
and appreciate that. And there's very few people that could answer that way. Um, and so you said you're in love, so I assume you have a partner.
Yep.
And um, he, she, I don't want to use the wrong they, them.
She
Sorry, not judging, but does she? What does she think about your career?
she loves it. She's extremely supportive. And um she gets me, which is important. My need for a certain amount of accolades, a certain amount of attention, certain amount of self-importance. She gets that, and so she's very um supportive with my time, supportive with, you know, everything from, hey, I got to do a podcast at 9 o'clock to, you know, sometimes I get recognized when we go out on our walks or whatever. And, she never rolls her eyes if I'm taking a selfie with somebody or whatever. And it's, but more than that, she gets it, right? Like she gets what I'm doing, and that it's important to me, and doesn't belittle it, doesn't make me feel like, I'm on some, I'm
She doesn't get
chasing
offended
some.
by your
Oh, no, no,
by
no.
your
She
books.
loves the comedy. I
That's
mean, we
good.
we have a
That's
similar
good.
sense of humor, so we joke all the time about a lot of stuff, and she's given me a lot of ideas.
I feel like I've been that person too. um, but that's important. That
Yeah.
100% to have a partner, especially if it's something that is absolutely your passion and your dream, to do, that supports that and doesn't, especially when it's something that's sort of controversial and taboo and stuff. And that's why I'm single, because I'm too taboo. I might hex people and such, but no, I really don't. Getting too old for that shit. But um there's I gotta see. There's another book I saw of yours. You can read us another one while
Okay.
I'm looking that up really
All
quick.
right.
I find them hilarious.
Let's see what we have here. How about Sweatshop Kids Make Everything You Own?
Yes, that is so true.
Sweatshop kids, make everything you own. Sweatshop kids, sweatshop kids, sweatshop kids.
Sweatshop Kids Make Everything You Own, from Gran's frying pan to your new smartphone, while you sleep quietly in your bed. A kid somewhere gets smacked in the head with the very same shirt that you now own. Kids also pick coffee wherever it's grown. Kids work long hours and sleep on the floor. No time to play, no time to be sore. A kid made your hoodie so soft and so cheap. Kids pick sugarcane for your favorite sweets. Kids mine the diamonds for all your bling bling. Sweatshop kids are there to make everything. Child labor is important, now you can see, to keep things cheap in a throwaway society. Sweatshop kids.
So, and this is absolutely terrible, but I was at the zoo, um, like a month ago, 2 months ago, when the it was during the world, I don't know the politically correct term for the day, but it was like a child labor um day
It's a celebration
awareness.
of cheap of
No,
cheap goods.
child child labor awareness day.
Okay.
And
Everybody wear
um
Nike shoes for that.
and I was at the zoo, and so here was a double kind of negative. They have, in the rainforest part at our zoo here, they have all these products that are killing the rainforest. All these major brands, shampoos and different food items and stuff that we buy every day and that are killing the rainforest. And, displacing all of these gorillas and all this stuff, which is horrible because I absolutely love animals. But aside from that, then it went on to, so not only when you buy these things are you killing the rainforest and the gorillas, but then it goes to a factory where they're made by children. So then you're also, you know, making children's lives, probably most of them are going to perish at a younger age. And
We could just bypass the shampoo and hire kids to kill gorillas.
who's going to cut down the rainforest? I mean,
The kids could do it after.
that's true.
Well, the kids could cut down the rainforest and kill the gorillas, kind of, and all at the same time.
Simultaneously,
All at the
just set
same
it on
time.
fire.
Yeah, slash and burn,
That's true.
and we could televise it so that we'd have some entertainment, and then we wouldn't need
But
shampoo.
so what I found fascinating is the only people that were paying attention to this, like I'm a giant child, so were me and all these other kids around me were reading these in infographics. Yes, that's what they're, telling about the statistics of these things. And the adults were completely just like, "Oh, come on, kids, that's just nonsense. She just that's history, whatever." They were just looking at the animals, like mocking the gorillas, and
Right.
I'm like, that's interesting, because they're the ones, and it was only the kids paying attention, as it is in most cases,
True.
and I thought that was interesting, but um, if you go on, it's like the U.S. Department of Agriculture or whatever. You can actually, and I was dumbfounded by this. You take this little quiz to see how many slaves you have hired, or that you you don't hire them, but when you purchase all these products, it
Right.
tells you how many slaves you currently have
Employ.
employ, I guess. Yes, basically. This is an actual, I'm going to have to find this website. It's
I
an
want it.
actual government website. And it'll tell you, do you buy, whatever, shoes or shampoo or um I don't know, home decor, whatever it is.
Johnson and Johnson vaccines.
And then they just keep Yeah, but it adds up. I employed like 80 slaves from Central America or something. That was from I try to be, and I was like, no, because I actually pay attention to where things are made and try to be sustainable and all this, But that just goes to show we don't know with outsourcing and resource, whatever. And
Do you
then
ever
my
wonder if
parents,
mold on bread worries about sustainability? I feel like we're just mold on the planet and we're like worried about sustainability, but we're
you
here to kill
know,
it. Our job is to
that's
kill it and we don't even know it.
that's a good question, actually.
I
That's a
think it's
really,
our job to kill the planet and we just don't even realize it.
it
And
could be.
we're all talking about how guilty we are about it, but
We're
really it's like
like,
why
what if
we're
we're the
here.
catalyst? Yeah.
We're here for
Yeah, we
that.
might be. That's our mission, and
Yeah.
it's taking us actually, I mean, sometimes it takes us a long time because we grow a conscience,
Right.
and then other times we're just like,
I
whoever
think we
created
just loved
us.
I think we just love to hate ourselves and I think we love to blame ourselves for all
Yeah.
the things. And I think, you know, I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where it's like no matter what we were doing, we'd be complaining that we were destroying the planet. Like even if we were like the most sustainable, the most green, we'd still
Right.
be complaining about, you know, those solar panels, the a lot of effort went into making those and it's destroying the planet.
Well,
Like
it's
we would still complain about the,
and
the
that's the
thing.
thing, because I was reading about like um hydro fuel, concepts and stuff. Why don't we have all this water? Why don't we use that for power and energy? And then they talked about the places that are doing that are killing something else. And I'm like, well, there
Yeah,
goes that theory.
exactly.
And then the
Yeah,
wind destroys the chi energy in the air, and that kills birds and all this. And I'm like, well, damned if we do, damned if we don't. Like,
exactly.
and then after Elon Musk bought Twitter, there's all these people that are like in third world countries are saying, well, why couldn't he use that for, what was it, like 400 million or
40
whatever?
billion. It was 40 billion.
Yeah, that's a lot
But
more
he
than.
didn't he didn't go and he didn't dip into his savings account. He put together a group of investors to make that purchase. That group of investors is never going to say, "Oh yeah, let's take that money and go solve world hunger."
Right.
Like, it's not
But
it's
that's
not
my
like
point. Like,
he dipped into his checking account and wrote that check.
yeah. And people are saying, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that with it? But now that I'm older, I think about, instead of blaming everybody else for the situation I'm in or whatever, it's true when they say that's his reality. That's his choice, That's
Right. But
his
okay, so
reality is
you
not
so
to.
whoever says that, go take half your net worth and
Yeah,
donate it to a charity. If you're prepared to do that,
yeah,
which you're not, you're prepared to tell someone else who's got more zeros in their bank account than you what they should do with half their net worth, but you will never take half your net worth and give it up to
right.
somebody else. So shut your mouth and stop telling
That's
someone else what to do with their money. Like it's you know what I mean?
absolutely.
It's like it's so and I'm not like one of those like billionaire apologists or anything like that, right? I mean, Jeff Bezos rode a penis rocket into space. You know what I mean? Like they're all doing stupid shit with their money. But at the end of the day, it's their money that. And if they want to buy another company with it, or if they want to put a bunch of investors together to buy a company, then like go make your own money. Go do your own thing. But I mean, so many people were saying Elon should do this, Elon should do that. Like, leave the poor guy alone. He's got you know enough to deal with. He doesn't
Oh,
need
I
he
agree.
doesn't need everybody telling him what to do with his money. Not that he's going to listen.
And I agree. That's the thing. There was a lady, I don't even know who it was by. It was just a TikTok video, because TikTok does roll over into other, Instagram and Facebook and everything
Yeah,
now. And she was just saying how people ask her what her mission is on this planet and how she's contributing to the mission of the planet and blah blah blah. She said, well, I create things that make me happy every day. And they're like, well, who do you create them for? She's like, well, myself. I'm like, well, why? Because it brings joy to myself. Well, are you working towards helping others? And no, just I create them for myself because it makes me happy every day, and I want to live my life happy every day.
hashtag
And that's
narcissist.
right. But I'm like, that's actually ingenious, because if everybody did that, then we'd all be happy and nobody would be hating on other people because they'd be worrying about their damn selves instead of everybody
Right.
else.
We need a lot more drugs to pull that off.
There
I'm
goes
just
the
making
government.
myself
Yes,
happy
yes,
with
there goes the
cocaine.
government. Maybe that's why they were, I have a magazine, like a Time Life magazine from the 60s or something, where they advertise housewives that are happy because they did a lot of coke.
Seems legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked at old advertisements from like 40s, 50s, 60s?
All the time.
They're hilarious.
Yeah.
So many people all the people would be offended now.
Oh yeah.
I have
Everything.
one I have one of encouraging babies to shave. It says start 'em young. It's a razor commercial.
Why not?
I mean, so where do you, you said you have a huge inflated sense of ego. So where do you see yourself going? What's your next step in creating, I guess?
Netflix special. I would like to put together a children's television, like an adult kids show, like Mr. Rogers slash Sesame Street for
Ah,
adults.
yeah.
Where it's kind of like comedy slash ASMR slash just like like a cure for anxiety for 30 minutes with my deep buttery voice and just like 22 minutes of pure weirdness. Um and like puppets and songs and but weird,
Like a
you
messed up
know.
Jim Henson.
Yeah. Um I feel like there's I think there's a whole category of programming yet to be invented. And I think there are a lot of people who are high at any given moment. And I don't mean just like, if someone who smoked a joint and got high, or someone who's drunk, or someone who's, done a couple lines off someone's butt or whatever. I'm talking about like people who are high on opiates, people who are high on, antidepressants, people who are high on anti-anxiety medication, and, or ADHD meds, Vyvanse, one of these other drugs, right? And I think there's like a whole category of programming yet to be made for people who are just slightly buzzing, and they just want the TV to take over. They don't want to think. They don't want to flip through a million thumbnails on Netflix. They just want to be taken on a journey, and they want it to be weird, and they want it to be oddly satisfying. They want it to be calming, and maybe they want it to take them to a place where they're more relaxed, and they want to completely forget about their troubles for the day. And when I was 6 years old, that was Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood for me. And I was
Oh my goodness.
like I loved that show when I was a kid. And I feel like that kind of like it's entertainment, but it's also like, of course they made it to educate kids, but they also made it just to calm you down. Like it was just like, okay, we're going to put on Mr. Rogers, and we're going to come back, and you're not going to be so hyper. You know what I mean? Like here's a full can of Coke. Sit down and watch Mr. Rogers, and you're going to be less hyper than when you started, even with the full can of Coke. And somehow that's what he did. He made me feel like um safe and calm, and like everything was going to be okay, and everything was in control.
Yeah,
And
and it wasn't so serious all the time.
yeah, and I feel like there are people opening their mail right now that are totally stressed out, and they just want to pop some kind of, Molly, whatever it is they're taking, and just turn on something that totally takes them to a weird place. That's like, I don't know if I'm going to laugh, or if I'm just going to be entertained, or if I'm going to fall asleep, but I don't know. I feel like there's like a whole category of programming for high people.
Well, not just high people, just like I don't watch normal TV. I don't watch the news. I don't, because it's just so I don't know. I don't like negativity in that manner. And I don't like fake stuff, right?
Right.
Or politics or anything like that.
Right.
And so I find myself watching like old Saturday Night Live skits, or like the animal voiceovers. I think those are hilarious. The offensive animal voiceovers.
Yeah.
That's uh, extremely funny. But did you ever watch Bert and Ernie's all the different connotations of Bert and Ernie's Adventure Time?
No, I haven't seen that,
Where
but it sounds
I was
awesome.
pulling up like their theme song. I'm like, I think my son when he was little had it on, it was on, I put it on TV for him. And it was like when these bedposts start knocking, that's when the adventure begins. And I'm like, wait. And like Bert or Ernie or whatever jumps in bed with the other one, and they say we're gonna go on an adventure or whatever. And I'm like, this, what is happening on the TV? And I start paying. Took off Jet, a ride we won't forget. Yeah, there's so many. There's so many. I'm like, do people, they're, the writers of that are purposely doing that. It's for the parents who like clean, like me, who was like cleaning or something in the background, about to pull my hair out and overheard it and was like, it's kind of like Shrek movies and stuff where you have
Right,
the
with the double
adult,
humor. Yeah,
yeah,
the
the
2 layers.
innuendos.
Yeah.
And I appreciate as a parent those things because that is my escape. So yes, I think there's a huge market for it.
We live in a
Um,
world where billions of people watch soap cutting videos,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know? There are soap cutting videos on YouTube with 1 billion views.
And you know what's ironic to me? And it didn't occur to me until I was living in a house during the pandemic. I started making soap, and I lived next to an abandoned church who had like a fight club meetup once. And
Nice.
so one of my friends that came to see me is like, um, referenced Fight Club. He's like, what do you like in Fight Club? I'm like, we don't talk about that, but
That's right. We don't talk about bum fights at the church.
right.
It's Hobo Fight Club.
Oh my god, it's so funny. Another synchronicity. You see, they just found dead bodies in an abandoned church near me. They were homeless people. Anyways, they most people don't realize the soap thing and the lie in the Fight Club reference, in the movie.
Yeah.
Um, they were stealing fat from
Yeah, from a
like a
plastic surgeon.
liposuction.
Yeah, it was a plastic surgeon. It was like, and he was like, "I'm stealing the fat from these rich ladies and selling it back to
Yes,
them as premium soap."
yes,
Yeah.
to wash their face with.
Yeah.
Yeah, most people don't even realize what that means. Like, don't even learn the whole way to make soap and and the double. I find things like that when I have that like aha moment. I'm like, that's great. And then I really appreciate the marketing or even like these different movies and stuff. But another one, Garbage Pail Kids. Did you ever
Love
collect
Garbage
those?
Pail Kids. Yeah, loved it.
Yes.
Loved it.
I feel like my mom bought me some Garbage Pail magnets a few years ago, but other than that, I can't find. Some of those were brutal, and we would always trade them, with other kids,
Yeah.
see who had like the most gory, offensive. I, I want stuff like that to come back because that was, and our parents bought them for us. They're like, oh yeah, go
Yeah.
trade these with your friends. And it was like cabbage. Was it Cabbage Patch
Yeah, it was Cabbage
dolls,
Patch Kids.
basically?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a knockoff, but it was like
yeah,
the gross version, and it was awesome.
yeah.
And
It
they were
had so
drawn
many
in
of them.
high detail in that Mad Magazine style, with the just the boils and the grossness, and yeah, it was good.
Oh, they'd have like severed hands and heads and entrails coming out and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
They were very, and they all had a different name, which was like really creative name. That was great.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like, if I hosted a slumber party and handed those out as a prize or something, like I might be sued nowadays by someone.
I don't know who you're inviting to your slumber party, but your friends sound very litigious. I don't I don't have friends that would sue me.
Well, not my friends, but I'm saying if I hosted like, handing out those cards to kids nowadays, I feel like their parents would be offended more
I don't
so,
know. I read
more
dead
so than
babies
the
books to
kids.
kids, and this is the similar kind of nastiness and
That's
gore.
true. That's
I've
true.
actually considered releasing them as like a card set or maybe like a game of something, some kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you need trading cards.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody loves dead babies.
And oh my gosh, what was the The Dirty Uncle ones. I don't know the
Oh yeah,
exact title on
yeah.
theirs.
Don't bathe with Uncle Joe.
Do you have that one?
Yeah.
That's funny because Joe is our producer, so
Is Joe your producer?
he is.
Mm. All right, we're gonna do Don't Bathe with Uncle Joe.
Don't play with Uncle Joe, setting boundaries with adults. Don't play with Uncle Joe, setting boundaries with adults. Don't play with Uncle Joe.
Uncle Joe got fired at work, he said, because his boss is a jerk. Uncle Joe has allegations. Mom and Dad have reservations. Uncle Joe is staying here. Uncle Joe might offer you beer. Careful not to take a sip. Roofies are what he might slip. Uncle Joe likes having baths. Uncle Joe might touch your ass. Keep your distance from his hands, even when he makes demands. When in doubt, you can just say no and never bathe with Uncle Joe. Don't bathe with Uncle Joe.
Do you think schools are going to allow your books in their libraries?
Um, Probably not. But there's this concept of reverse shoplifting, which I always loved, right? Where you can just go into a library and place your book on the shelf, or you go into a store and place your book on the shelf. I've actually considered doing that as like a YouTube stunt where I go into a bookstore and I put my books in the children's section and I watch the parents in horror, heading over to the section and being like, "What is this? What is this? Sex offenders?"
so, so it's always interesting. Have you ever been to Japan?
No.
So I went there. I studied there when I was, oh gosh, 18, no, 19, 20. Um, and it's so interesting how compared to the US, they were selling 40s of beer and you could buy a fifth of vodka out of a vending machine and cigarettes and everything else. But the vending machines closed, shut off at 11 p.m. just to deter kids from buying them after 11.
Oh,
Not because they didn't want them drinking or smoking, but because that was past their bedtime to wake up. They had like 12-hour school days. So, um, but we would see that's the first time I learned. We would be in like a doctor's office or a business office, and they would have comics, laid out just on the waiting room table or whatever. Like even there'd be kids and such. And I'm flipping through one, and there's this like anime porn in the middle.
sure. Yeah.
And the kid next to me is like looking at the same thing. The parents don't care, but it's all they don't make a big deal out of it.
Right.
Sex and drugs and alcohol and all of that is since it's not illegal from the time they're, up until they're 18 or 21 or whatever. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that exciting to them. So,
Sure. It's no different
um
than Lego.
yeah.
Here's some Molly bricks for you to play with, kids.
But you can't like they had in parts of Tokyo, they had shops that were like jewelry stores basically. You could go buy different types like acid and shrooms and stuff in cases and it wasn't or you just pass all these windows with women dancing in them that you could go rent by the hour or whatever. And but it was so different, to an American where all of these things are so terrible um and taboo and everything else. It is kind of a culture shock. Yet
Sure.
me having tattoos to them was very, very taboo. They're like, "Oh my goodness, you're one of the like you're owned by the Japanese mob and all these different,
Right.
because my life. But but it's interesting how different. So I wonder, another thing were translations they would make fun of. Like I got this shirt um that had cartoons and stuff on it, and it said anorexia we style. And at the time I was like, that's great. I'm gonna go wear that around the sorority girls in the US, you know?
Yeah.
And things like that there weren't offensive. So I'm assuming your books, as far as being popular, do you have a way to like statistics on what countries or where they're purchased or things like, have you ever
Yeah, the US and Canada are my biggest markets.
really?
Japan is I sell in Japan, and my books are available in Japan, but they don't. I probably sell one book a week in Japan.
Huh. That's interesting. You need like a translation.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there. People keep coming to me and they're like, "Oh, I want to translate your books into this. I want to." It's like, you know what? It's so hard to do that for me. I'm a one person operation right now. It's
Oh,
just so hard to do
absolutely.
that, and I feel like it's something that comes with, you know, being bigger, being closer to where I believe I should be, which is some type of bigger publishing deal and worldwide distribution with bookstores and translations and all that kind of stuff done properly. But I don't want to do it with some guy in Germany who just wants to make my books German. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't know
Right.
what that's going to look like. And now I'm going to split my royalties with you. No, I'm not interested.
Yeah, you have to be really careful with nowadays people.
Yeah.
It's such a big thing, especially with publishing. You know, you hear about so many independent or people getting screwed out of all kinds of stuff when they,
Yeah.
they trust these other companies. So it is
Yep.
difficult.
Yep.
Well, I hope that um, we have listeners from all like Timbuktu and places that I don't, people don't even know exist. So
Like
hopefully this
Sudbury,
helps.
Ontario.
I think it was a cab company. Occasionally people have, when I got this new, it hasn't happened in a long time, but when I first got this number, people called me like in the middle of the night and asked me to give them a ride somewhere, and I'm like, um I should start, like back then I was like, I should just start telling them I'll be there in about 10 minutes, you know.
Yeah, you got to mess with people when they mess up your number. I love that.
What if they're in a dangerous neighborhood?
So
They just stand there waiting forever.
sure, wait inside.
It's tragic.
The cab's not coming if you live in a dangerous neighborhood. You already know that.
Yes, I
The
do know
the
that.
police aren't coming and the
I
cabs
don't.
aren't coming.
You might get a creepy Uber driver, but you're not getting a cab.
You're getting a thirsty Uber driver.
Probably won't even get a bus for that matter. So,
That's right.
all right, Brad, do you have one more book?
Sure. Yeah, we'll do one more.
Well, we probably have, depending on how long they are, we probably have time for two more.
Let's do Dead Babies.
All right.
Right.
Real quick, do you do the illustrations also?
No, I don't. I have two full-time cartoonists who work for me.
Oh, wow.
And they don't want me to name them because they're religious. And so, because I'd be happy to share the spotlight, I'd be like, hey, I'll put you down as illustrator and co-author on the book or whatever. And they're like, nope, just pay us. We don't want our parents to know what we're doing. Because flesh-eating fish picked this girl clean. A house cat murdered little Nadine. Henry suffocated inside a jar. Quinn was killed by burning hot tar. Logan set himself ablaze. Ninja stars took the life of baby Jade. Benjamin was stabbed by a pitchfork. Harper was stabbed with a lit torch. An owl clawed Liam until he was dead. Don't ask me how Sophia lost her head. Quinn was killed by two jellyfish. Jack choked on a big candlestick. Jen was frozen into a block of ice. Emily got forked right in the eye. Amelia was penetrated by a goat horn. Acid killed Jaden right after being born. Evelyn was killed with a nail bat. A flower pot crushed the head of Ayat. Jimmy was killed by a porcupine. A fish took the life from Madeline. Dead babies.
Oh my gosh, a fish. It's a terrible death.
The choking on the fish,
Terrible death.
the whole fish.
Who are some of your greatest, I guess, idols growing up, or even now?
Growing up, I was a big fan of Henry Rollins, who did like spoken word tours, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. Like the fact that he could just go to these places and talk for an hour and get paid. I thought that was so cool. Um, um, a lot of like punk rock kind of bands and Hunter S. Thompson. I was a big fan of him growing up. I read a lot of his books when I was young. Um, um, and a lot of like really weird, like, you know, like the Dead Kennedys, trying to think of other music that I listened to, but it was a lot of like I almost look at my books as like a punk rock song in a children's book, you know, and so I was always fascinated by punk rock and by the people behind it and the sort of political leanings of these people and the things that the alternative things they had to say that nobody else was saying, and I always thought it was so cool. So that was a big influence growing up.
Do you have siblings?
No, only child. That's where the
I bet.
self-importance comes from.
Right. I was gonna say. I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say
Yeah.
all the psychologists out there are gonna be like, oh,
Yep.
yep,
Yep.
yep.
Check. Yep. Only child syndrome right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you grew up in Canada?
Yep. Yep. I've pretty much lived within an hour of where I am right now my whole life.
Oh wow. I'm sorry.
No, I'm cool with it.
That's
I like it. I like it. I've traveled the world, but I've just, I've never moved very far.
um when I came to Kansas, there's people here. I remember some of the first people I met were in their 90s and had not been past a 30-mile radius in their entire lives.
Yep.
And that was interesting to me, because I had been a lot of places by then. I was only like 12 or 13, and I'm like, wow, there's an entire world out there, that people don't realize. And and then but everybody has the same problems everywhere you go, the same, even the same street name, same, everything looks the same. And even somebody was criticizing like the child labor here in Kansas. I live in Oz, and I was like, but wait a minute. And there's a lot of very small towns here and very religious towns and such. And talking about how other countries have child labor and all this. And I'm like, coming from a state where you can get a driving permit when you're 14, and where a lot of the schools have extra um, vacation days and such out of school in the fall, so the farm kids could go harvest for like 16 hours a day. I'm like, what? What is this hypocrisy? But it's it's humorous. I find that. Um, so it's everywhere. It's anywhere. Um, it's interesting. Once you get older and you start seeing it, you're like, wow, we're very naive
Sure
as
we
a
are.
society.
Yeah. We think we're perfect, and then
Yes.
someone comes and pokes holes in what's going on around
Yeah.
us, and we're like, what? I didn't notice that.
Yep. And it's the same, like you said, that well, like in Fight Club, where he was selling that soap, that luxury soap, back to women, these rich women. And yeah, we know these problems exist, and we know, yet we still keep doing it. It's like sight unseen, you know. That's the mouse thing that I talked about. I was like, you know, I don't like killing things, so I bought one of those traps that, um, like it goes in and it spins and kills it or whatever, but you don't have to see it.
Right.
And I referenced that to people, like it's okay, you know, if these things are happening. Like I didn't do it. It made me feel like I wasn't responsible. Of course, I was responsible. I set the trap.
Sure you did. Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't have to see it, you
Right.
know. So it's okay
It's
because
Schrodinger's mouse, right? It's
right.
like,
So once I started changed my perspective and started thinking about these things, and I even, you know, I got this. I had adopted this cat who ended up being afraid of mice, terrified of mice. Like he ran from it and looked at me like, you know, save me from this wretched beast. And so then I bought the trap, and but the same thing, I got the cat, like thinking it would be more organic to kill it that way. That is it, but I'm still killing it.
right.
Like,
It's not more organic. It's more brutal.
right?
Your cat's just going to mess with that mouse for hours before it dies.
But then he was afraid of him, so he didn't even. I'm
So, yeah.
like, I got a broken cat,
Yeah.
and then I got another one that was wild, and she ended up being a savage, and
Yeah. She'll kill anything that moves.
and so it was this whole. I'm like, when you relate things like that in a funny way to people, it's well, first of all, it's 100% true,
Sure.
but then it makes you start thinking about these things, just like your books. You know, you're like, wow, yeah, we overlook those things all the time,
All the time.
all the time.
Yeah.
I
But for
hear
me, it's like, you know, I'm not doing, like, a lot of people think I'm doing it to shine a light on it, or I'm doing it to like make it a thing,
right.
or you know, I'm trying to influence your next vote. You know, and they get, and people, you know, Americans especially, right? Politics is religion in America. It's not like that here.
Ugh.
It's not like that here. You're born into your party, and you know what I mean? Like, it's not like that where I am in Canada. Um, but you know, that's not my goal. My goal is to make you laugh at the absurd. And the absurd is sometimes the stuff that's happening under your nose that you don't want to notice, or you don't want to see, or the stuff that you don't want to talk about. But it's what's happening, right?
Mhm.
So, but my only goal is to make you laugh. I have zero interest in shifting your political whatevers. You know, I don't want you to do anything differently because of me. The only thing I want you to do differently is go to Amazon and buy a book. You know, I'm not interested in changing who you are, or what your parents taught you, or what you think about people of other colors of skin. None of it. I don't care about it. If I make you laugh, I met my quota.
I think, and I think that's amazing because, but then again, I don't think. Well, I don't know. I think that you've probably changed a lot of people's opinions of or perspective of dark humor in comedy, you know, because it does make them laugh. It probably makes people laugh that didn't expect to laugh. I've seen those things, those
Yeah.
videos you do too,
Yep.
where you try to make people laugh, and that say, you know, that think they won't or whatever.
Yep.
And there's something to that because these people who are so passionate about some whatever, you know. And
Yeah.
have you ever tried going up to like picketers or something? We have a lot of those here in the US. So for every occasion, there's a picket somewhere.
I'm not a street comedian. You know, I don't think you'll ever see me doing any man on the street kind of stuff. I don't really have um the 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 courage, is maybe that's the right word, to like stand on the street and do my thing.
Well,
You know, it's so I mean, and I'm it's so easy to get punched in the face now.
Have
And
you ever been punched in the face for your
yeah, I've definitely
comedy?
not for my comedy, no, but I
Oh,
have. But I mean, I have been punched in the face in my life, and I know I don't like it, and I don't want it to happen again. And I feel like confronting picketers is a recipe for getting punched in the face. So for me, that's
it
a
could
no
be.
thanks. Um, I like to be behind my screen. I do like to be on stage, but I would not want to confront an angry mob of people with signs. I would not want to, shock people with weirdness on the street. I see a lot of people doing that, and it's very entertaining. I love to watch it.
Seems
Um,
dangerous though, it
yeah,
does.
it seems dangerous, and I don't really want to set myself up for violence or set myself up for some type. I mean, we live in a strange world now, right? I mean,
Yes, absolutely.
it's so easy to
People
get
are
shot.
triggered very easily.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm not a man on the street comic. Like I always call myself a sit down comedian. I'm in my basement, I'm sitting down. Sometimes I'm standing, but you know what I mean? It's like th- I don't know. I can confront strangers with a webcam, and there's zero violence potential.
Absolutely.
And it makes me feel safe when I'm doing it, and I can still be effective. But the unpredictable nature of having to bring a camera person, confront a stranger, and try to make them laugh, or try to get them to do, when they think they don't know what my motive is, they get, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it's just it's too unpredictable.
I well, I would agree. People are crazy. Even
Yeah.
if you're not doing anything to them,
Yeah.
they're unpredictable. Um, gosh, I had another good question for you. Um, as far as I know you do, I'm not familiar with this, so it starts with a Q. It's like the random call in
Oh,
something. What is
Omegle.
that?
Omegle,
Yes.
it's called.
Oh,
Yeah.
Q, it's not a Q. It's
It's called QAnonChat.com.
Do you I've never used that until, I was looking at some of your videos, but I assume you meet tons of people who are both for and against dark humor. So your experiences on that, I guess what's the variety of people that you come across?
Um, i- there aren't very many people on there that get offended, because I feel like, if you go, I mean, look, it's the internet, right?
Right.
If you go onto any unmoderated website where there's going to be random webcam matching, you're going
Oh
to see
yeah.
a lot of dick, right? So there's so much to offend you, that I am the break from the weirdness when you're on Omegle, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
There's so
Yeah.
many naked people on there.
Really?
Just, and it's sad because a lot of minors go on that website. So people give me a hard time. They're like, you're on a website exposing minors to adult topics. And it's like, if you saw the fat guy masturbating that they saw just before me,
Wow.
you would not be concerned with what I was exposing them to,
Right?
right? And these are 16-year-old, 13-year-old kids, sometimes younger. I've seen, 7, 8-year-old kids on that website.
I didn't even know it
And
existed. Like, I didn't even know that website existed
yeah,
until
it's a chat roulette, right? It's like you don't you click escape on your computer, and you have a new friend to talk to
huh.
every time. And there's right now there's probably 60,000 people on that website.
Wow.
And so you're never gonna match the same person in a night. You know what I mean? It's that incredibly busy. And but it's packed with, you know I mean, here's the way I look at it. If you're naked on that website, and children are going to randomly match with you, you're already a pedophile.
Yes.
And I'm on there telling jokes, and obviously if you're really young, I'm not going to share my jokes with you. But if you're a teenager, I will stop and talk to you, and they will constantly tell me, this is the best interaction I've had on this app all night. This is the best thing that happened to me tonight. I was almost ready to give up on this site, and then I found you. I make them laugh. I give them a couple of minute break from the ridiculous
Yeah.
that they're dealing with, and a lot of the time it's bullies, right? Like I come across a
Yes.
lot of bullies,
That's
and
what
they're
I was gonna say.
yeah,
Like most of the ones I saw, it's an interesting interaction because initially they come off with direct, hits to you, like
yep,
talking about like old man, this, whatever.
yeah, yeah.
And then it's such an interesting to watch you turn it around, the interaction to a positive one by the end of your conversation with them.
It's where the empathy comes in because when I was 16 years old, if I had Omegle and I saw me, I would say all the same things.
To an adult.
Yeah, of course. I'd be like, "What are you doing on here, old man?"
Yeah.
I'd be the same way. And so I don't fault them for that. And I know I can turn them around. Some of them I can't. Some of them just skip me and they move on. They're like, ew, or whatever, and then they move
Yeah.
on, and that's fine too. Um, but a lot of the time, what happens is someone will skip me. They'll be grossed out. And they'll say, oh, and they'll skip me, and then somehow they'll find out later
Mhm.
who I am, and then they see me like 2 months later, and they're like, "Oh my god, I skipped you 2 months ago. I'm so sorry." And like, the kids will bully you until you make them laugh or until they find out you have a million followers, and then they turn into a completely different person.
Then
Right?
they're a
They
fan.
they value that. So, if someone finds out you have a lot of followers, they will instantly like, I had this girl one time that was bullying me, and I was live on YouTube, and I was just letting her do it. And I was kinda just waiting for her to run out of steam, almost like a boxer waits for someone to stop hitting them, or to to run out of energy from punching. And she somehow figured out that I was live on YouTube, and she Googled me, and she went on TikTok. She saw how many followers I had. And as soon as she looked at her phone and she looked up, and all of a sudden she went from this evil bitch, she was being so mean to me, saying all these horrible things, to being the nicest person. And it's just funny how people value these metrics now more than ever.
Yes.
And they look at you differently when you can either A, make them laugh, or B, um, make them think you're more famous than them.
It's interesting. My daughter, she's 9, but she categorizes people now that I interact with in real life, in public. I'll be walking down the street, run into somebody I know or whatever, or maybe it's just an acquaintance, and she'll be like, "Are they a super fan?" And I'm like, What? What's a super fan?" Well, like somebody that you know really well, but they really really like you, and I'm like, "Is this how you categorize your friends?"
Probably.
And it is because that's their generation, but
Yeah.
it's just funny to me. I'm like, "What's what's a super are they just a regular fan?" I'm like, "What is that?"
No, it's an actual friend.
Right. Yes. I'm like, "You kids should try this sometime."
Yeah.
But then on the other side of it, I have heard my son occasionally plays like Xbox or whatever, like, and there's like game rooms. I hear adults bullying kids,
Yep.
they'll be like they'll be talking about his glasses or something, like, I'm like, "Are you serious? Like,
Well, they
how
bully
old's
us.
that?"
They bully us too. The kids bully the adults on those game
Oh,
chats. So,
I'm sure.
yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, like, adults know better,
Right.
Here's I'll ask him, I'm like, "How old is that guy?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know, like 50 something." I'm like, "What?" And he's like bullying these kids
Yeah.
that are even younger,
I do it. I bully kids on game chat for sure. Yeah. It's the
like,
culture. It's the culture of the
is
game
it?
chat. You're gonna play Call of Duty, there's bullying.
Huh.
And it's just, you know what I mean? Like it's just how it's gonna be.
So my son's been wanting me to play those games with him, and I'm like, I'm gonna do a social experiment one of these days. Is like a, over 40 mom learning how to play whatever and see how these kids interact with me. I
The
think it'd be
same. They're
hilarious.
gonna bully you just as, and it's
But
gonna
do you
be
think some would help me?
no,
No,
no.
that's
It's
terrible.
it's gonna be it's gonna be. the biggest Me Too moment of your life will be going on Call of Duty to chat with 13-year-old boys with a female voice. Be prepared for the most rampant sexual
Dude,
harassment you have ever experienced in your entire life. It's gonna be a bloodbath.
hmm. Even if I tell them I've never played before,
They don't care. Well, here's the thing.
are
When
they
you
gonna help me learn how to play?
no, no.
Oh,
Well, maybe somebody will. Maybe
that's
somebody will.
rude.
But usually you hear a girl's voice in the chat and you hear a bunch of dudes saying, things about a
Huh.
vagina.
That's terrible.
That's the
If
internet.
somebody just wants to go on and like learn how to play. Yeah. I'm gonna go live one time and try this.
You should do it. You
Just
should do
I'll
it.
be like I'll come up with some name. I'll be like I'm sure there's like gaming mom or some there's
Soccer MILF 26.
that's gonna be you all heard it. That's gonna be my new Xbox. Is it like do they have it like avatars or I don't know what they
Yeah,
are.
they got all
I
that
never
stuff.
played it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Brad, it has been a pleasure. I can't believe we chatted for 2 hours. Tell everyone where they can find you, find your information
Just Google me, Brad Gosse, Gosse. Easy to find. I'm on the Google.
on the Google, and you
Yeah,
can find his books on Amazon,
that's right.
Barnes and Noble,
Yep, Walmart.com.
Walmart, even.
Walmart.com.
You're Walmart famous.
I'm waiting for Walmart to ban me, and I'm gonna like.
They sell
Here's
everything now.
if anybody's listening to this that wants to do this for me, this would make this would be this would be a wish for me to come true. I would love it for someone to order like Cucumber Curtis Can't Come to Dinner or like Race Wars or something else on Walmart.com. And then like an old person, and then call the news, your local news, whatever it is, NBC on your side or whatever it is. Call them and say, I can't believe this. I just went to Walmart and I bought a children's book and it's about, critical race theory or whatever, right? And like turn it into a thing for me. Like, give me some free publicity because I want Walmart to ban my books. There was a cactus, a cactus in a pot that danced that you could you turn it on, it would play some
Yes,
music,
I've seen that.
and
Yeah.
and it was and there was one that Walmart was selling, and it was singing it was singing a German rap song about cocaine. And some
Oh.
German lady bought it and she recognized the words of the song and she was outraged and she called Walmart. It was on the news and it got all this national coverage. And then this cactus was like sold out everywhere
Oh, I'm
because
sure.
everybody wanted the cocaine sniffing cactus, right? And so I'd love to have that happen to me at some point. So I'm cool with getting banned from Walmart if anybody's down
Yes,
for.
give lots of offensive reviews.
Yeah.
Well, Brad, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so
Thanks,
much for
Trish.
joining me and accepting my weird awkward invite.
I love weird, awkward invites. They're the best invites.
I will post all of his links are in my group or on all of our sites. And it has been a pleasure. Everyone, thank you for listening again and join us next week. So we're back. I don't have like a quirky end thing.